Hello everybody. I wanted to give a little bit of an update post Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show with a few thoughts. Firstly, for those who haven't been before, Fort Lauderdale is a huge show and it's very spread out. Now there is a super yacht village and a super yacht pavilion, but getting between those two locations is actually quite difficult. Not difficult so much as time consuming and hot. On top of that, your mid-sized boat builders or those who are building both under 24 meters and over don't really sit in either. Okay, so you end up walking the pontoons to come across the Azimuts and the San Lorenzos. So we've got some very large yacht builders in the super yacht village. You've then got some providers in the super yacht pavilion, and then scattered throughout the show are builders and a few management companies. This isn't necessarily a problem, but if you are focused on the large yacht sector and the over 24 meters, it does make the show quite difficult to navigate and quite time consuming to get around. The show does run for 5 days, and therefore that makes it easier. So, you can get to all these locations, but it's just worth bearing in mind it's a very spread out show and it loses some focus sometimes. Where there is focus is in the tent area or the bar in the center of the super yacht village, and there was some really great networking going on there, and that tended to be where most people kind of met and congregated to discuss. It's a very relaxed show. That has its benefits. You don't want to be walking around in a suit because of the temperature anyway, and I don't think the US market is receptive to the providers for their recreational industry being overly dressed and overly smart. That being said, within the professional side of the industry, there's always a time and a place for being overdressed and underdressed. I'm not sure I ever trust an accountant who's going to be wearing a pair of shorts and flip-flops over someone who is, more smartly turned out. The same can be said for some professional services within the super yacht sector. That kind of leads me on to the next point that I've found during the show, is that the US market as a whole is more receptive than when I was last there about 3 years ago to professional services as a whole. I think as the industry over there matures and grows and the size of tonnage grows and owners come up through certain fleets and have to transition to different builders, there's a level of professionalism that is coming with them, or they're entering into a size of boat where there's a realization that you do need to have professional services and people looking after your boat over and above paying your crew and having them look after everything kind of on the side. And I think that's good for the industry, not just those providing professional services. Crew employment, finance, technical, compliance issues. Then kind of before you even get into the kind of corporate service and legal side of things. So I think that's good, and that's showing the maturity of that market over there. And because of that, it's becoming quite an aggressive marketplace. I mentioned in my last video that the Europeans were there in force. I think we all know that the US, or Americans can be very patriotic. So if you're going to offer a service that an American can do, how are you adding value to that service over what can be done locally? You only have to walk up and down the docks and see the difference in the colours of banners and flags and the logos there compared to when you go to a European show, to see the different dominance that you have in the central agencies for sales and charter, never mind then all the supporting industries that underpin those. So for those of you who are eyeing up the US market, do be aware of where that added value is over what a local provider is able to offer. Love to hear what you thought of the show. I know there's been a lot of wash-up videos and a lot of social media during the show, but let me know your thoughts and any questions that you have.